evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard on ACTN. Always a pleasure every Tuesday evening when we come into your homes and we talk sports. As I said last week on our program, we were supposed to do a 2021 sort of recap of highlights and achievements in sports, but it didn't happen. So we're going to do it today. First of all, let me introduce my co-host, Maria Thomas. Maria, it's a pleasure. Welcome.
Thank you, George.
And the two favorites. I must say favorites because people always ask, when you're bringing back them two fellas, but where you get them from and all sort of things. So I felt it was necessary to bring them back.
Thank you, George.
I didn't introduce you first, Let me introduce the CEO of Rep 868, Dernnis Allen. Dernnis, it's a pleasure. And Happy New Year to you guys.
Full government name there.
Right. And the original
red man in the world,
Christopher Gill.
Thank you, George.
Again, Happy New Year and
Happy New Year.
All the best for the new
everybody.
year.
Happy New Year to the fans of the show and everybody out there.
and thanks again for having us.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. No, people always ask me when you're bringing back them fellas.
We want to announce that we are going to dedicate this show to our sponsor, Kool-Aid. So go right now, go in your fridge and get Kool-Aid because it's going to be one of those shows. Yeah. No,
Anyway.
we did not actually get Kool-Aid to sponsor, but Kool-Aid, if you're definitely interested,
Yeah, let's call us.
you call us.
Yeah.
And we
Anyway,
have a lot of time,
before we get into the whole nitty-gritty or the topic what we want to discuss, I know you heavily involved in athletics, track and field. So I just wanted to put you on the spot to comment on the passing of Dion Lendo.
A lot of people will see him as a talent and see him as a Trinidad and Tobago athlete. But if you go around and you just anywhere on social media type in Dion Landor, you will see the amount of people whose lives that Dion has touched. And he's more than just our Trinidad and Tobago champion athlete, Olympian and world championship medalist. He was an ambassador for the sport. So losing Dion in those tragic circumstances, a young guy, vehicular accident, I mean, words cannot begin to describe the loss. But certainly, we can now, mood set is his signature statement. A lot of the young athletes have been using that, and I have to say that Dion, he was one of the stars, one of the stars of the sport.
Yeah. I want to say it's very rare, especially in Trinidad and Tobago's sporting world, that we get athletes that are not just successful but significant. Dion Lendor would have been significant. And when you look at what he was doing at his university and continuing to contribute to the progress of athletes going forward, then you realize that is where I think it's so vital. So him not being here anymore is a big gaping hole that we're probably going to have to take a long time to probably recover from. Of course, I want to say condolences to his family and to anybody, his friends and so on.
Mm-hmm. Maria, I know you into sports. You had the opportunity to meet him or anything you want to say?
I didn't have the pleasure to meet him, but definitely seeing the response and of course following, his career, you can see the impact that he's had and the fact that it really motivates other athletes, not only in track, but in other sports as well, to really excel and to think about how their image and their performance can have impact in sport and in the world.
Yeah. Well, as I said, we want to dive in to the main topic that we want to talk about, the achievements and what has happened in 2021. As we know, there was a lot happening because of the pandemic, but we still had some good achievements, from our athletes. But before we even go there, let's talk a bit about the impact that COVID had on sports for 2021. Because I think the COVID started in 2020, but the real impact really, I think, was felt in 2021.
For sure, and I think the first impact was a brain freeze at the Ministry of Sport. That was the first impact. stop thinking. Everybody just stop because nothing happened. Only now we are 2 years plus, or going into nearly 2 years. I saw in the papers, we are putting forward a policy from the Ministry of Health to get sports back on 2 years after. So obviously the brain freeze lasted for most of 2021, and we kind of now coming out of it, and that's what I think.
Yeah, you know, I think I remember coming on this show and talking about 3 months. That would have been early in 2020, and we were so wrong, you know. And 2021 was worse, both in terms of scale and in terms of how it's affected. Every week I've been talking about condolences, sending condolences to people, friends, personal friends that I know who died. I'm talking about young people. A cousin of mine, he was what, 29, no, he was 27. He died first week of the year. So we're talking about younger people are dying now. People are scared. People scared to leave the house. Every time you sniffle, it's a problem. Creating sports policy, especially for everyone in a framework like that, has proven to be very difficult. But I think here in Trinidad, I think the handbrake's still on, and we've reached the point where we're losing athletes who are just not motivated to train because they have nothing to train for. I've spoken to athletes who were podium ready early in 2020 and 2019, and they're out of the sport now. You know, and they're gone forever. We missed 2 Curfter games, swimming, track and field, triathlon. You know, so many young athletes just, when I say play here about badminton, you know, lawn tennis has gotten it, rugby, some of the national teams, but by and large, the sports policy framework has been missing in action. I have to say that, you know. I might not have said what Chris said, but yeah, we need something happening. You know, the red man have no cover on him mouth.
Again, when I look at the sport, so even worldwide, we see professional sport is happening. And of course, that's not a fair, we can't line up professional sport and the resources they have and their ability to continue their sport with what we can do in Trinidad. So, right, and I get that. But we should have or should have had a policy where communities could get out and be active in a manner that was still safe and within the COVID regulations. And we didn't do that. And one of the biggest issues is that, which we have not felt yet, and I am predicting we will feel, is that 2-3 years down the road, we will see the result of not having an entire population active. Because one of the things about COVID and is sunlight and activity is one of the things that hinders its progress. And we have decided to not engage in those activities. Therefore, we have possibly helped its progress. So we need to start thinking beyond it's a 3-month disease or whatever. We need to start thinking about life with COVID and how we're going to progress out of it. And we haven't gotten to that stage yet, certainly not in sport.
So question, you hear people say the new normal all the time. Do you think that that's where there's a deficiency? Have we thought about what the new normal is, or is it just whatever happens to come every 3 months and every cycle that we react to?
I think we are reacting, we supposed to be reacting to what is coming, or at least that seems to be the thought process. But even that is not really happening. I don't think we're reacting at all. I would like to see the fact that it is a new normal, and we need to start thinking, what is it going to be like 2 years from now? When Anthony Fauci came on the TV and said, I think this pandemic is going to last for 2 years. I said, this man mad, this Fauci man. Like, Trump really has something, at least that's the one thing he right about. But apparently, once again, Donald Trump, he was still wrong. Fauci knew what he was talking about. We are 2 years plus. I think everybody sitting around, all of us here could look at each other and say, COVID is definitely going to be with us a year from now. We're going to be sitting here 12 months from now, and COVID is going to be here. So plan for that. Plan for COVID being here 12 months from now, and how are you going to engage your community and make them active and see where we can go. And we will make mistakes in that plan, but at least plan. And let's go forward. Let's make that step and make another step, because that's the only way we're going to go.
But is it that you said we dropped the ball because...
And I say we get brain freeze.
We get brain freeze. But is it that those in authority were kind of hesitant to do certain things because they know of the indiscipline in the Trinidad and Tobago people, right? Because that's one of our problems across, we are a very indisciplined people.
We're unruly.
We're unruly, and we don't like to follow instruction.
Yeah.
So there's a number of things that we have to look at, right? But in spite of all of that, we had performances by the few athletes who, with taking all things into consideration, they went out and they did their best, right? So let's kind of try to identify some of the highlights of things that we felt was deserving, and I think there are a couple that in spite of the pandemic, right, these athletes stand out, and I think why I will give them more credit is because of what they did, because of the circumstances, because a lot of them didn't have proper training, proper competitions to go to, but they went out and did their best. So let's all come together now and start to identify some of the positive things that happened last year. I don't know
a lot of what Maria just spoke about, the new normal, unfortunately is going to be superimposed over the old normal. And the old normal is no private equity funding in sport. Government, not just ownership, but control of all of the facilities, majority of funding, everything comes through the government. So when daddy say you can't go outside and play, that's it, you're inside and you're grounded, because that's where we're at right now. I think we have an opportunity to evolve a new way of thinking because we have no choice, right? So what you're going to start seeing is we're going to start cherry picking the best opportunities that we could pattern after, like in Jamaica. I mean, Jamaica, Grace Kennedy sponsors track and field. Every high school have a major brand sponsorship. So starting to say, Trinidad and Jamaica running, yeah, but Jamaica, we don't compare. You understand? We're from the Caribbean, but it's a totally different thing. So when you put all of those together, the athletes who succeeded were the athletes who were able to achieve that escape velocity from the things that have been constraining most of us. One of the few exceptions would be the Farina twins. Those guys, I mean, they really put their hearts out there. They were based here, and they still managed to be able to be competitive amongst the Trinidad and Tobago men's sprinters. A lot of the athletes who still managed to get scholarships, Leah, and son, look, Shakira Cook. So we have maybe about 10 new scholarship athletes who would have been competing here in that Trinidad and Tobago environment in the last 2 years. And I believe that is part of the problem, trying to pick what was happening from what was happening. Trying to pick excellence really puts the rest of the athletes who just didn't have an opportunity to shine, puts them in a bad light, but certainly, I think it's the athletes who got away, who ran away from daddy thing, who jumped the fence, who bushed through two louvers and went out and party. Them is the athletes. Those are the people who succeeded in 2021.
And who
stands out for me? Nicholas Paul, Tennille Campbell, certainly Akil Campbell, her brother.
You're sticking with cycling day, boy.
It ain't really not much more,
No, I think
Jareem Richards was here for about 10 minutes and he gets stuck, and then he went back out and he do his thing. And,
boxing.
Boxing. You know who I was impressed with? Nigel
Paul.
Tiana. I was certainly impressed. And I mean, I've criticized her in the past because I think her suspension was just unnecessary. Michelle Lee came back. And one of the hardest things, I think, I have known athletes personally, I mean friends with them, who got a 2-year ban from sports already, in cycling and in other sports. And in most cases, they never come back. you know, it's so difficult once they're out of the system to mentally get themselves back in a gear, you know, to fight and things. And so I have a definite deep respect for the fact that what Michelle did was, and again I say, Michelle, your suspension was unnecessary. You could have avoided that. But she certainly took those 2 years and along with COVID happening, and did what I didn't think was, you know, she could have done, which is come right back up to possibly the same level she was at the time of her suspension. I think that shows a maturity. I think it shows a fortitude and a desire to be, you know, as best as she could be, and I wish her all the best. I hope.
I want to bookend what Chris was saying. Michelle Liahi, we know we will always have to say.
Don't set your phone on vibrating.
We will always have to say Michelle Liahi together with the doping suspension. She wasn't a doper, but she had a whereabouts failure. When you look at what has recently come out with Blessing Okagbari and athlete athlete 1 in that landmark case in the US right now, that has shown that many athletes use that whereabouts failure because they have basically 2 strikes, and the 3rd strike you get a 2-year suspension. Athletes are using that as a loophole to evade testing. But clearly in Michelle's case, I could put my neck on a block and say Michelle was not evading testing. Michelle just get trapped in her life, whatever it is. That's her business. She will talk about that. But I'm saying this because Christian Coleman just came back out. He just ran over the weekend. He has a big event coming up. I am saying that we have to look at that process, that whereabouts failures process. We have to look at that testing of all those athletes in the testing pool, because people like athlete 1 got 10 sixes for about 10,000 US. That's basically what it is. They doped their way into the back page of the newspapers. They doped their way into conversations like this. And we have to now, as sports fans, demand more accountability for the athletes. And I will say this, athletes who have whereabouts failures, it's a big red flag. Except for Michelle. You understand? And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Trini. I'm saying that because if you see how Michelle has conducted herself, she has put her career in front of what had been probably not taken seriously enough back then.
Yeah.
But certainly in Tokyo, she showed up.
Yeah, and then I suppose that would lead us into the Tokyo Olympics, which certainly for Trinidad would have been, I think a lot of Trinidadians had these great expectations going in that we're going to win medals. Ato made a prediction, we ain't winning none. Everybody.
Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to Scoreboard on ACTN. Before we get back into the discussion, I want to play for you a voice note from the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee, Brian Lewis, and he was speaking about what he thought were the best highlights of sports for 2021. So let's go straight to that.
In terms of 2021 and what would be my top sports achievements, Nicholas Paul and his achievements in spite of adversity over the year 2021, including Tokyo 2020. We scheduled it 2021. His achievements stand out. Nigel Paul, the boxer, achieving a medal at the first ever medal podium at a World Boxing Championship. Again, a symbol of persistence and resilience. Dylan Carter certainly also adds to the achievements in the his World Championship podium at the short course. and they have had what I call cameos, would call cameos over the years. You know, Dion Lendor, Tyra Gittins, Precious Warren, Michelle Liahi, Daniel Campbell. Those would be the achievements. You have the juniors, people such as Kelsey Daniels and Tyreek Horsford. Those would be the achievements in the context of Olympic and the Commonwealth sports that jump out at me, Anissa Mohammed. They're beacons of hope, resilience, and an indomitable will to succeed regardless of challenges, adversity, failures, obstacles. I'd also include Tracy Brown's efforts at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games rescheduled to 2021. Jerome Richards.
Well, there you heard it from Brian Lewis, the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee, trying to identify a couple of the athletes who he felt, need to be recognized. Some of them are those we mentioned before. Anybody there that you felt were left out or weren't deserving of mention?
No, I think Brian and his 1 minute contribution, and I speak 1 minute in that.
You speak loosely.
Yeah,
1 minute that lasted about 5. Go ahead.
Like the Soviets versus USA basketball. Anyhow, but no, let's be serious. I think Brian nailed it. I think he really captured the best of us last year, and anybody else just add into that? You're talking about very, very few things would have stood out more to me than what he would have captured. But certainly Kelsey Daniel, long jump, triple jump. He over the weekend, 2 jumps. And he's at the top of the junior college's long jump performance list. Right? Two jumps. He just went out 2 jumps. That's all it took.
There's something I want to talk about. And I think Maria could identify to this too. Sometimes we look at the top achievers, people who win medals and who do certain things. But I want to mention Fiola Jack from rugby. And why I want to mention her is because of the transformation in the pandemic, what I saw. Because if you all knew her before what she's now, you could identify what I'm talking about. That girl went from a sort of chubby rugby player to a physically fit and strong individual, right? And I think that motivation alone that she showed during the pandemic, right, might have gone unnoticed to a lot of people. But because of how around rugby, I saw it. And then to top it off now, she got a stint abroad. And I think Maria could share some light on that. Maria.
Yeah, I think that definitely, for me, some of the standouts for 2021 are going to be the people who are maybe just under the radar. The fact that you qualify for Olympics like, Prince or Rodriguez also for Pan Am. When you're only looking at the medals, that's kind of like the end of the road. But athletes like Fiola Jack, who took 2021 and said, I'm going to make something of myself in this time. You can't say that because I can't play my sport means that I'm on pause. And we may not be seeing all of the results that are going to come out of 2021 but definitely the athletes that took that initiative, they are going to be the ones to look for. There will be a lot that fell off, and we've talked about that because, of course, that's what we're feeling and that's what we're lamenting, but there are definitely athletes who have shown tenacity through the period, and those are the ones to look out for because they are the ones who decided to define their new normal. They decided that it wasn't going to be defined by anyone else.
For me, I think what we didn't talk about are teams. And in my humble opinion, the team that stands out, or the sport that stands out, is hockey at this time, certainly. The national team, national football team, both men and women, did participate in tournaments. But you always got but certainly with football, the extended controversy still is going on. We have an extension of the normalization committee. You have the coaches association saying who should get hired. They had a coach get hired, and there's so many different things. But in hockey, they seem to have a sense of purpose.
They also have a buck hiding in a cupboard somewhere because whatever it is they're doing to get money, walking.
Like salt. According to the fellow, ginger oil, garlic. And all the
Ginger violet.
Yeah.
Gasparillo buck.
Yeah, but Gasparillo buck.
Yeah, that Gasparillo buck.
But it's true. It's interesting because I think the other team that also, which didn't get mentioned there, was the 3x3 basketball, which went out. It was their first. It was the first time Trinidad was being represented internationally by 3x3 basketball.
Gill boy, I think.
Yeah, and they didn't do too badly. They went to the Commonwealth, Pan Am Youth Games, and I want to see. I think Maria's made the point. Some of these newer initiatives are defining how they are going to operate.
I never knew that we were so big in 3x3 basketball.
Neither me. I didn't know we were so big, but you know what was interesting about it? The guys went out there, they did a great job. Of course, right now basketball is going into another,
We reached the Bacchanal part yet.
Bacchanal.
Although every part of our show
is Bacchanal.
Once we hear the whole show is Bacchanal.
But you know what? I was pleasantly surprised. I think we need to start looking forward to that, and it definitely looks at something that we can do. We can be big in. I look at it as something we could be big in, and I want to see us progress in our.
And the good thing about it was 3 youngsters, so four of them, I think.
I think
it was 3 and Adrian Joseph.
Yeah,
Adrian is my boy, but come now, man. He's my boy. Adrian.
Adrian can shoot.
Adrian is a star. Adrian is a star.
Adrian will always get
a star, but you know what?
No, it's not you know what. Once Adrian could see good, you know what I mean? So you give him a little crossword in the Guardian or whatever, and think, Adrian, follow that there if you see him doing so. All right, Adrian, time to wrap it up. But once he could do so and start to right straight,
right, we good to go. Nah,
no
Adrian.
I'm just kidding. Wait, no, hold on. Somebody I forgot to mention. Shakanda Green, Noel, netball player. Listen, she's what, 6'3", somewhere around there, so? And she had Janique Fowler, the Jamaican goal shoot, who is like, 7'3" or some kind of thing. She's like literally nearly 7 feet tall. And she had her on her toes over in that Jamaica Sunshine Series, man. And that performance, and I guess it would have been in train before, but it netted her professional contract with Celtic Dragons, and I'm really excited to see what she produces. She's one of the athletes, along with Fayola Jack, that I try to reach out to, and we have a running conversation on Instagram. I talk to a lot of athletes on Instagram, and those two young women in particular are very, very exciting for how they, like you said, the transformative way that they've gone about making their careers and going pro. I mean, 2 team sports with very outstanding individual talents, certainly. Very, very excited to see what happens.
Maria, what Anything happened besides Fiona in rugby that you felt that, it went unnoticed?
There's definitely a lot that I think goes unnoticed in many sports. There have been different strategies, and I think the administration has to be acknowledged. The coaches and managers need to be acknowledged. These trips that everybody has been taking, whether it's football or hockey or any of the sports, believe me, it hasn't been a smooth ride at all. Finding out you can't get on a plane, finding out test results, all of these things, the athletes are there to perform. Somebody's got to make sure that all of that stuff gets sorted out, right? And so there has to be that much investment from the administration, the coaches, managers, to back their team and to say, yeah, I'm putting my hand up and I'm going to take responsibility for this, because it's a huge responsibility to take. One of the things that rugby did, we had some tournaments that came up recently. Well, since we spoke last week, the Mexico tournament has been postponed. And what rugby's looked at is, all right, if it's difficult to move that many people out and back into the country, how can we bring people into the country? How can we work within the restrictions that there are and sort of grow who we need to spread things around? So we really invested a lot in our coaches here. We have invested a lot in the networking here. And, as you'd mentioned before, having athletes that can go out and get these opportunities in camps, in competitions. And exciting to see that is actually blossoming right now for rugby. And that's giving us an opportunity to continue growing, continue building. Not only at an individual sport level, but the Ministry of Sport and Community Development is doing a series that's getting a lot more publicity and a lot more eyes on sports that maybe you wouldn't know about, like darts, chess. They had the Pink Rain campaign, and then after that, following, we saw some of these almost instructional and educational shorts on sports, right? And this is a different way that you can say, all right, how do we engage people, and how do we keep sport moving
forward,
even though it's not in some cases.
So we are in 2022. Do you see that the young ones who we are talking about, for instance, the more experienced athletes or sportsmen and women, they might be better equipped to deal with certain aspects of life. But the young ones, like who we mentioned here earlier, who did well in 2021, are we expecting them to do even better in 2022? Right? And what sort of guidance or what sort of impact that professionals can come on board to help them to, because I'm sure that a lot of some of the athletes who showed potential under the radar have dropped off because of things.
For sure.
But the ones that we are seeing here now, who do you think that, or what organization is responsible, should come forward to guide these young people? Because as I said, they are not all that experienced as yet to handle.
Yeah, you use the right word there.
Right?
Guidance. And that takes me straight to somebody like Maria. So Maria is new to leading a sporting organization in Trinidad and Tobago.
That's right.
Right? What you need are people who have come into the administration of sport with a very different perspective than what we had. We need to clear out that old guard. We need to take a bulldozer and just clear them out and say, hey,
Basketball, excuse me.
time for it to go.
Basketball, yeah.
Seriously, and that's a big bulldozer sometimes. We need to clear out, because going forward, we can't go forward with the old. These young sports people, these young and developing sport personnel, the athlete, they are now dependent on administrators who want to use their newfound skills and experience and knowledge in a way that can help them in this current situation. What we've done in the past has failed, and going forward will continue to fail, COVID or no COVID. We need that change. And I think this is a good opportunity for a lot of sport organizations to clear that room and bring in new blood, and that will help the athlete. That is who is going to help the athlete, that new. And we need younger people. Instead of having these people that at 90 and think who they're 10 years past their retirement and now looking to get a vote in, I think, go your way, go home, go and sit down and watch and rock your grandchildren in a chair. Go ahead, talk.
You know, Chris mentioned a couple of things there, and the need to bring in new and bring in fresh ideas. And you asked a question, who? Well, actually, TT Game Plan. Right now, I'm on 2 committees on the National Amateur Athletics Association. I'm on the Education and Publication Committee and on the Team Selection Committee. I'm also on the Marketing Committee at the Cycling Federation. And we are working with federations to bring that new thinking into sport. All right, so give me a call.
All right, we're going to take another break here, but when we come back, we want to get another clip here with, I think, Kwame Lawrence. And he'll be talking about what he viewed as the top performance for 2021. So viewers, we'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to Scoreboard. If you miss any part of this program, you can get a repeat tomorrow at 1 and on Saturday at 1 p.m. I'm joined by my co-host Maria Thomas alongside Chris and Dernnis. We want to go straight to a clip with Kwame Lawrence telling us who he thought were the top achievements in 2021.
Nicholas Paul is undoubtedly the star of Trinidad and Tobago sport in 2021. The high point coming at the World Championships with his silver medal in the kilometer time trial, ending a 30-year drought for Trinidad and Tobago. Jean Samuel, the last to do it at the global level, with bronze in the same kilometer time trial in 1991. Of course, Roger Gibbon, also bronze in the kilo, 1967. So Nicholas Paul not only emulating the great Roger Gibbon and another great Jean Samuel, but going one better, getting silver, while those 2 outstanding stalwarts of Trinidad and Tobago sport, they would have gotten bronze during their time as global powerhouses in the kilo. And of course, Nicholas not only getting that silver at the World Championships, finishing 6th in the sprint at the Olympic Games, Trinidad and Tobago's best individual performance at Tokyo 2020. Of course, the Olympic Games held in 2021. So once again, Nicholas Paul, the star of Trinidad and Tobago sport in 2021, silver at the World Championships, 6th place at the Olympic Games, and special mention to another cyclist, Kwesi Brown, finishing 9th in the Karen at the Olympic Games. So a great year for Trinidad and Tobago in cycling, and certainly Nicholas Paul emerging as the top man, the top dog for TNT in sport in 2021.
Well, welcome back. Well, basically, Kwame has kind of said what we all anticipated. Those were the highlights of the top achievements. Now, we heard the Minister of Sports said recently that sports might be opening up more than what we are seeing here right now. We have a lot of the national teams in preparation right now, the football, the hockey, rugby, netball. Are you all in agreement to add community sports to this list? Now, I am a bit hesitant because I know that there is no such manpower or things in place to control every community that's going to start a football league or a cricket league, right? But that's my view. But right. Maria, let me start with you. Do you think that community sports should be open up?
Yes, I think community sport should open up. I think that is what we need for the health of the nation. And I also think that it can be implemented in a way that is actually going to support the clubs and the government and the mandate as far as vaccinations are concerned, following protocol is concerned, right? By opening up community sport, it doesn't have to be a free-for-all. If you're most community sport, you're a member of a club or you're a member member of a team. And therefore, that club or team is responsible for making sure that the sport is being conducted in a safe way. So you've signed up to this. The government or whatever checkpoints are going to be there, Ministry of Health. They check in with those clubs, right? So therefore, you're actually spreading the responsibility.
Community sports is 12 men from the community or 13, 20 men from the community on a basketball court to a football field playing small goal, you know.
It can be that, but it's also the clubs.
And not cutting you, I think I agree with Maria, because what I want, yes, by and large, we are not a well-disciplined nation/community, but the only way we are going to become more disciplined and better at what we do is to get the opportunity. COVID has given us that opportunity.
Well, I want to cut you here. I want to call you to listen to me for a second here, right? River open back before sports. We're talking about Gunta and who is Rango Tango, and we're talking about River open back before sports. That don't make sense. Sports is in a blind spot.
No, River open better now.
Yes, it open.
River open Monday. Today's Monday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So we going?
So if River open back and sports ain't, that means somebody has forgotten something. You leave the house and you forget your keys, you go back inside. You forget your phone, you go back inside. You forget sports, we go figure it out another time. That's what's been happening. And I think that right now we're seeing a lot of problems at the top. We talked about a lot of elite athletes, youth elite. We talk about sports as a structured thing. You know, Maria's in rugby there, El Presidente, the Czech, we'll talk about that afterwards. But we are forgetting the smallies. All of these school children have been home since 2020. They're rotting 6 hours a day, some of them, rotting in front of a online learning process that some of them are not coping well with. They are not outside, they're not getting sun. Some of them looking like me. I read, man, no, I almost as red as Chris.
Almost.
Why? Because we just not getting sun. So those children, we saw how bad an impact it has been on them when we had to prepare for the age group for NACAC last year. Some of those kids got injured just trying to warm up, right? So one of the Invincible twins, Tariq, he got injured and he just couldn't perform in the last selection event. But I mean, what had he been doing? You know, he and his sister, they're youth Olympians, basically, in my opinion. So we're missing the point about youth sports and the value of that by just dumping this generation of youngsters. That's what we've done. We've forgotten them home. This is like a home alone.
And one of the reasons that it's easy to forget them home, or one of the reasons we've been doing it, is that it's laziness. It's easy. Hey, you know what? We've dumped them in front of the computer. Nobody sit down in Trinidad and Tobago and say, hey, you know what? Kids sitting down 6 hours in front of a computer is no way relatable to kids spending 6 hours in a classroom. And we need to revise that. You had a whole year, you still don't revise it? You still have schools doing that nonsense? 6 hours, 7 hours in front of a computer, and then people, I have parents, you know, friends of mine talking about how their kids are now physically getting sick from spending that much time, headaches, poor vision. Get over it. Yeah. So we need to readjust, and yes, it's a problem, but it's a problem that offers us a chance to find solutions, and we need to find these solutions.
Let's hear what Lasana Liebert, the CEO of Wired 868, had to say about his top achievements for 2021.
Good afternoon, guys. This is Lasana Liebert from Wired868.com. And with all due respect to Nicholas Paul, Michelle Liai, Dylan Carter, and Kyron Pollard, with reference to 6 sixes against Sri Lanka, I'm going to be biased towards my favorite sport, football. So my favorite highlight moment from 2021 came on July 10th at the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Trinidad and Tobago were facing Mexico. The Soca Warriors had played 2 qualifying games in the 8 days leading up to that match. They were without injured captain Kaleem Highland, and key wingers Levi Garcia and Jovan Jones. Negotiations for match fees were so tense that the players didn't agree with the normalization committee until minutes before the team left the hotel for the match. I mean, some hours before that, according to one player, normalization committee member Nigel Romano even allegedly told the players they could walk out of the tournament and go home for all he cared if they didn't take what was on offer. So with all that going on, the team faced the defending champions in front of 40,000 partisan fans. That's the Hazy Crawford Stadium, full and then double, by the way. And they didn't break. They were resolute, dogged, disciplined, smart, all of our very best qualities, or you might say qualities we don't show often enough. The Mexican fans even turned to homophobic chants, racist abuse, but nothing was breaking the concentration of our players that night. 0-0 at the end. Massive cockblock. The Soca Warriors, my favorite moment for 2021.
You heard Lasana giving his prediction. Now, we don't have much time remaining, but let's talk about what we would like to see happen in sports for 2022. Let's, maybe those who are not hearing or seeing, maybe we can give some sort of, advice or counseling to them or something. So, Maria, I don't know if you want to share anything with us, what you would like to see in 2022 regarding sports.
Definitely, I'd say that there's a learning curve that everyone is going to go through, and it's not just because of COVID, it's because our technology has changed. I've had to learn to use social media. I am on some platforms, not all, and especially where you were speaking about the children who are home. They're accessing platforms that probably maybe their coaches, managers, the administration for sure are not accessing. One of the things that rugby did is ball in hand, or is doing actually. It's something that's going to be continuous, and interested people, they sign up, they get a rugby ball, and then they engage in virtual interactions. So they get little hand drills, ball drills to do at home with the ball that's provided for them, and then they can engage on whatever social media platform they use and share it with the group that they're designated with, so it continues that community, because that's another thing you lose, right? When you're not in school, how are you learning to interact with other humans? Yeah. And I definitely think that as far as sport, and it's hard, it's hard for people who say, well, I've spent my life getting used to this and getting good at this. This is what I want to work with. But we're in an environment that's changed now. And that's something we're going to have to keep considering throughout 2022. Doesn't mean there's not opportunities there. It just means that if we want to maximize the potential of those opportunities, we have to think outside the box.
Yes.
One of the things that has been a revelation to me is TikTok. You see, the TikTokification of life and lifestyle, that has a lot that could be adopted and adapted for coaching. These children, some of them probably 5, 6, 7 years old, watch a TikTok dance, and within minutes they can do a video and put that up. That's learning, that's physical genius. We're unearthing a new way to teach. We're unearthing a new way to share and publish ourselves. We as sports administrators, sports fans, and content creators need to embrace the full spectrum of all of that. Over the weekend, I did a project with the Netball Association, helped them put together their virtual award ceremony. We're looking forward to more interventions like that for TT Game Plan. We really hope that some of the conversations that we've engaged in the last year put some fruit, aka money, on the table so that we could get some of the things that we want to do. But really, I'm really excited by where the technology is going to take us.
On the technology team, but it was interesting. I had a brief conversation with Peter C. Lewis, formerly of Wii Sports, and I always look back at Wii Sports as a big missed opportunity in Trinidad and Tobago, because I think what he did was he brought local sports to viewers and sponsors, who a lot of them, when I was actually working at Wii Sports with almost, you would hear them, or these marketing people would kind of laugh, who watching that? Now, nobody is seeing local sports at all. You can't have, at all, right? And it's sad because the same corporate entities are not realizing the value of somebody like a Peter C. Lewis's We Sport and other platforms that can carry local sport. We need to have that. We need to make local sport visible so that people know it exists, so that corporations know it exists and start investing. I want to see corporations stop talking and start investing in local sport. And I want to see community sport not just come back. I want to see it developed. I don't think we've ever had a real plan in Trinidad and Tobago to develop community sport as it should be developed. And those two things, I've already talked about the fact that we need to clear out the old and bring in the new in terms of sport administration.
Okay. Top sport achievement.
Going back this way?
No, yeah, you.
Nicholas Paul, without a doubt. But I have to say Nigel Paul's achievement was great in the fact that he achieved it from here with what was happening. Nicholas was away, certainly in terms of the woman's side of things. I want to say Tennille because I know what she's going through, but I think I have to admit Michelle Lee's comeback was really, even though she didn't win a medal or whatever, I just think it's a personal triumph.
Dernnis.
Kelsey Daniel, I'm really looking forward to Akila Lewis. She's going to be awesome this year. And Maria Thomas is working on like a beast. I'm really excited about the Commonwealth Games, Carifta Games, and the World Championships, Track and Field World Championships.
Maria.
Well, I don't really like to do the top fives in the rankings.
What stand out for you?
Something that stood out to me that actually TTOC acknowledged was the Spirit Award, and I think that's the important thing. And no matter what the achievement is on the leaderboard, when you can demonstrate that spirit and when you can touch other people and influence them, impact them in a positive way, I think that is so important. So to everyone who's been doing that, or everyone who's even opened themselves up to receiving that, I think that's really what has kept us connected and has created kind of a little bit of a spring that we can jump off of this year.
Well said. Well, viewers, we have come to the end of another edition.
Just hold on. Wait. We went a whole show and we didn't say Tyra Gittins.
What
is that? What was that? Tyra Gittins.
She had the Spirit Award.
Go ahead, Joe. Sorry, man.
All right. Anyway, viewers.
Bamboozle the man. Confufulate.
You know what has happened? Well, we want to thank you for spending the last hour with us as we dive in. You might not have agreed with everything that we said, that's our view. So if you miss any part of the program, tomorrow at 1, Saturday at 1 also. I want to thank Maria, Chris, and the original Redman.
Dernnis. Dernnis. You get so tapped. Dernnis. And the original
Redman. We look forward to catching you with us next week at the same time. Be safe. And
thank you so much, audience.
Yes.
Bye.